Welcome to Love Your Coaching. I'm Charlie, and today we're going to talk about our standard three-part coaching structure that we call the T structure, TEA for T. It's a structure that you can use when you are a very new coach. In fact, when we do our very short one-day coach training program, we teach this structure at lunchtime and people are using it by the afternoon. So it's an accessible structure for new coaches, but it's also a useful structure for more experienced coaches. Let's look at how this structure works. Let's look at when we can use it, and I'll take you through each of the three stages, see what you think and see how it can apply for you. It is designed for standard coaching sessions that are not super long sessions. So a nice short session of 20 minutes that might be spontaneous. It might be one of those have you got a few minutes, can you help me on a topic type of thing, or it could be for a planned session, but for a session that's relatively short, the idea that you can use it in an accessible way. It is primarily designed for new coaches and for coaches who are getting going with their coaching practice, but it can definitely be used by more experienced coaches, of course, more experienced coaches who perhaps are having shorter sessions, perhaps they're having more practical sessions. Tends to be the structure that we can use for those one-off sessions. The idea that you've got something that is a upcoming, spontaneous, someone has asked for a bit of coaching on a topic. But as with all of our structures, it will fit nicely into those 3 or 4 or 6 session coaching programs that you might be having and organizing. And it does tend to be for more practical issues. Of course, emotions can turn up even in this simple structure, but the idea is that this is probably not the structure that you are going to choose if your coachee is thinking about the rest of their career, or perhaps a major personality issue or a major dilemma, something of that nature. It tends to be for the more practical and tangible things. This is how the structure works. As the acronym implies, there are 3 stages, and let's look at each of those 3 stages. The T obviously stands for topic or theme, you could say. And the idea at this stage, as with all coaching structures, is we spend a really decent amount of time here. We want to establish what the topic is, what have they brought to this session. Often we find with T type of coaching, people are relatively clear on the topic they want to bring. They're likely to have already asked to have a session on this topic, but we still want to spend a decent amount of time here. We want to find out exactly what the topic is, make sure it's really clear, and we definitely want to find out what the outcome they want, and not just the outcome on this topic, but the outcome in today's conversation. So for example, if they say that they would like to have a bit of coaching about an upcoming challenging conversation they've got with a colleague, you might ask an outcome and they'd say, well, I want that conversation to go well. And so you could then say, okay, and what outcome do you want from our conversation so that you'll be well prepared and well set? So they can think about where they want to be at the end of 20 or 30 minutes. And it's good also to ask a couple more questions, perhaps to really establish why they want to talk about this topic, what's important about it, or perhaps why they're introducing it now. So that by the time you finish this T stage, you and your coachee are really clear, and it's got a really nice platform, a really nice foundation to be able to push on to the main body. So don't rush through this stage. Even if you've got 20 minutes, still give a good 3 or 4 minutes here, a good 3 or 4 questions so that it's really established. The main body here, we're calling it E for exploring, and it can go all over the place. Of course it can. It would tend to be starting with a bit of finding out what's going on and what's happening with this topic and why they want to talk about it, and getting in some of the detail. And then you'll be probably following the coachee's energy, following their thinking, looking for key words, picking up what is at the heart of this. If it is a challenging conversation, what is it that's worrying them? If it is a relational problem, what's at the nub of this? We're really looking in this exploring stage to hold back from asking those type of, what could you do about it? What are some steps you could take type of questions. Hold them back out of this stage. The exploring is the main body where people can do the sharing, do the understanding, and maybe start thinking about changes, thinking about obstacles, thinking about all of this stuff. If it's a 40-minute session, you're here for half an hour. If it's a 20-minute session, you're probably here for 12 or 13 minutes, something of that nature. Wherever you get to, 5 or 7 minutes before the end of your time, then push on to the action stage. And what will happen at this action stage is you have the opportunity to really find out in a bit of detail about their actions. So their actions, the steps that they're going to take, but not just that, have them say what they're going to do, but pushing on beyond that, pushing on towards making sure that these actions are likely to happen. Often we ask for their commitment. What is their sense of commitment or motivation about that, taking these actions, or possibly something about their obstacles. So like with the T stage, the A stage wants a really decent amount of time spent on it. By the time you get to the end of this A, hopefully your coachee will be well settled and will be able to see a pathway and be able to see some steps that they can take. So you can nicely bring this session to a close, perhaps with a final check-in on how they're feeling, or a word or two of acknowledgement and appreciation of the work that they've done. And then you've taken them through the T stage coaching. So this is a structure that we teach and that we really like and we really enjoy both teaching and using. You will see in the coaching demo playlist, you'll see at least 3 versions of using this structure for different coaching sessions. So please feel free to go and watch that, and you will notice the T and the E and the A and how this all flows through. It is a straightforward structure. We do have structures with more complexity that break down that E stage into a couple of subcategories, but this is a good one, we think, to get you started and to get you going. Have a think about whether your coaching sessions could also be seen like this. Are they structured in this way, or are they structured in a different way? Have a think about how you could use this structure in an upcoming coaching session. Do let us know how you get on. I hope it goes well, and I hope you enjoy a bit of T coaching. Happy coaching.